So I want to know how this professor got a job at an Ivy League school and why she still has that job. Anthea Butler teaches religious studies at the University of Pennsylvania. This was her back in June.
We've had a rise within the last 6 years of a lot of white supremacist groups and right-wing groups. We have a basic, stew every day of how black people are to be hated and distrusted in this country. I have to tell you that living in America right now as an African-American woman, a professional, an academic, that I am too within this very veil of hatred that we live in this nation right now.
While Butler talks about hatred, she herself is perfectly happy to spew it at someone who doesn't agree with her politics. Last week, presidential candidate Ben Carson said he was fine with people flying the Confederate flag as long as they didn't do it on public land or public property. Butler didn't like that and took to Twitter using a disgusting racial slur against him. Quote, "If only there were a Coon of the Year award," end quote. Now, she herself is black. I don't know how this happens. I think she should be removed from her job immediately. If anybody said this, just imagine now, if anybody said that about President Obama in 2008, they would have been fired, gone, no excuses. We contacted the school today, and they have yet to tell us if they will take any action. Kimberly, how do you see this differently?
I think it's so offensive. So offensive. I'm 100% with you. The university should fire her. There is no place for that. I mean, where does she get off saying something like that about Ben Carson?
I don't get it. I mean, it seems to me to be a racial, totally a racial put-down.
It's racist.
It has no content other than I'm doing a racial one-up.
True.
I'm blacker than you.
True. But isn't speech protected, including offensive speech protected?
You mean in terms of her rights as a professor?
Her right, yeah. Do you want her fired because she said something offensive? Do you want everyone fired for saying something that is perceived to be offensive?
I would fire you. She would fire you in a second, Eric.
Well, I think we all at one point would get fired.
No, but this is different. You can businesses can fire you for saying offensive things. That's not a First Amendment issue. She's not going to jail for this.
And this is not PC. This is not a PC argument. I can understand if you were saying to me, oh, you're just being PC. Here's what she really meant. There's no substance to this. There's no actual debate. Am I off on this?
Well, it's interesting to me that, so she's on a campus, and we've been talking a lot over the past couple of years about these microaggressions and how people on campus get so upset if you maybe allude to something that would be perceived as hurtful to them, and that's called a microaggression. She just skipped the micro part and went straight for aggression. The other day I said the last thing you're allowed to be in America is a conservative woman. It's actually not true. The last thing you're allowed to be in America is a conservative black person.
Man. Yeah.
Or a woman.
You mean not allowed to be.
Correct. You're not allowed to be. There's a way to go after them with impunity, and which she says that the reason she's been criticized for her rhetoric in the past, and what she says is, well, I have tenure, so I can't get fired.
Well, I mean, but the tenure is intended to allow full and honest debate about substantive issues. This is not a substantive issue. But this is like Eric calling me a nasty name. And I mean, he may not like, but what's the point?
In this, by the way, they're not protecting any kind of debate because there is no debate on campuses. You have Hersey Ali, who goes to speak to a college and is rejected, while they shield identity creeps. And that's a problem. I mean, right now, hatred is an elective course that is applauded depending on what side you're on. And this is, I mean, this woman, in a way, is a victim of her own identity politics. It's poison to her mind. So when she sees a brain surgeon, a talented brain surgeon, she thinks that word. I mean, that shows you that somehow she has been brainwashed, and that's what happens on a campus that doesn't allow other points of view.
The problem is, to me, that it's a hate speech. It's a hate speech that's racist, and it has no place. And I mean, it's very, very disrespectful. And people in the African-American community should be very outraged that she would even say that about somebody, such a fine individual like Ben Carson, or anybody that is African-American. Like, what is wrong?
Well, I think it's a lot of, self-hatred involved there that's so deep, because the Confederate flag issue, that's a legitimate issue. If she wants to say she thinks he's wrong, fine. But why do you have to go in the gutter?